Hello and welcome to the Daily Space for today, April 5th, 2019. I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Gay, and I am here to put science in your brains. Today, we are all recovering from, oh my God, everything happened yesterday. And I have a quick roundup of, well, at least some of all that happened yesterday. It was a day that started with rocket launch upon rocket launch and ended with, well, what is going to probably be one of my favorite science stories of the year. And this is the bombing of the asteroid Ryugyu. The Hayabusa 2 spacecraft, which is a Japanese mission that is currently out orbiting a little asteroid about a quarter turn around the solar system from us on its orbit, 2 light years away or so. This little asteroid is about 500 meters across. And yesterday, they deployed a bit of the Hayabusa 2 spacecraft because this is a spacecraft that, like any good transformer, comes packed with robots capable of being deployed to operate independently. They deployed a camera that entered into a slightly different orbit from Hayabusa 2, and along with this camera on board this deployed bit was a shaped explosive. I have had this explosive described to me. Thank you, Herleu, for the subscription. I have had this explosive described to me by a team member as being an anti-tank explosive. Now, the reason that they deployed the camera separate was so that they could hide the Hayabusa 2 orbiter on the far side of Ryugyu as they dropped that anti-tank explosive onto the surface. And dropped is kind of the wrong word. There's not a lot of gravity involved. They fired it at the surface and used that deployed camera whose images we see here. This is DCAM 3. And it captured an image, if you squint and look hard, of the ejecta being blasted from the surface of Ryugyu. Now, it was hoped that this fired explosive would be able to create a 10-meter deep, that is roughly 30 feet deep crater in the surface of this little tiny asteroid. Now, the reason they wanted to do this was so they could, well, later fly the spacecraft down towards that surface and grab some rocks that hadn't been exposed to the sun and the harsh space weather environment. This means that they should be able to later on, if all goes well, fly down and get a sample of the insides of an asteroid. And that was actually their original goal. Everyone was like, yeah, it's cool to pick up rocks off the surface of an asteroid, but what we really want is a core sample, a subsurface sample. We want to dig down, and it turns out exploding things is a way to dig down. So they dug down, and we are all eagerly waiting to see what Hayabusa 2 sees when they fly over this section of the asteroid in the coming days and send those images back to Earth. This was one that was definitely worth staying up for last night. Okay, so that was awesome. Now, not one to be outdone on these showy mission images. Curiosity decided to basically say, hey, I can sit still and get awesome science. In fact, Mars Curiosity sat still, looked up, and observed this fabulous image of the Martian moon Phobos crossing in front of the sun. If this was on Earth, we would call this an annular eclipse or a partial eclipse of the sun. I think I'm going to go with annular because Phobos is definitely passing fully in front of the sun. It's just too tiny to block out all of its light. So this occurred on March 26th. And the other moon was like, hey, me too. And so here is an image from March 17th. Again, from Mars Curiosity. This time the moon's name is Deimos. And these two eclipses really give a fabulous sense of how tiny these moons are compared to our own glorious moon. So here's how you think about this. Mars is further from the sun than we are. This means that sun in the sky is going to appear even smaller than what we see. And so you have an even smaller sun that when the two moons of Mars pass in front of it, still come nowhere near close to completely eclipsing it. And that is not a circular moon. That is a lumpy, bumpy, crazy looking thing. And let's go back to that one of Phobos. Can anyone there say asymmetric, kind of asteroid or potato looking? These are not our moon. These are something completely different and fabulous. So, in addition to getting these pretty pictures, there's also another Mars Curiosity image. Thank you so much, Rocket Sage, for the host over. There's also this fabulous series of images that don't look all that exciting, but if you watch closely, you may notice the sky getting this ray of darkness. Well, that ray of darkness is because the sun, which has just set below the horizon, this is a sunset image of Mars that was taken on March 25th. That sunset image catches, Phobos once again sweeping in front of the sun. So, pretty pictures. Sometimes it's just good to look at pretty pictures. And not to be outdone in the pretty picture category of things. This is a fabulous series of images that does not want to play. Come on, video play. Video, there we go. So it's only 4 seconds, so you have to watch quickly. But if you watch, you can see these jets expanding. This is a compilation of images that is being put together by Judy Schmidt. She is at Space Geck, Geck on YouTube. And here's how she described it. I'm still messing around with this for some reason. Herbig-Haro 47, that's the name of this object, from HST is in visible light and then near infrared, that's when it turns orange, showing movements of a jet from a young stellar object over a period of 25 years. So put in more words than fit in a tweet. What she has done here is she's combed through the Hubble Space Telescope archive, looking for all the images that people have taken of this particular object over the past 25 years. Hubble's been around a long time. And over all of those years, the jets on this system have expanded enough that we can see that expansion. In astronomy, we often talk about how, you can't see evolution happening on human timescales. You can watch a star pulsate over and over and over. You can see different objects gobbling things up and sometimes twinkling if they're active galactic nuclei. And I know twinkling is the wrong word, but it's a good word. But in this case, and this is just one of those cases where we're watching a star evolve, and occasionally we get to do this. There's a case a number of years ago of an amateur astronomer being the first to see a new young star emerge from its nebula in its star-forming region, and he was the first person to see this star not shrouded in gas. Any of us can go back through the archives of Crab Nebula images and measure the expansion of the Crab Nebula for ourselves. This is yet one more example of those few times when on human timescales we can watch our universe evolve. And it's kind of awesome. Okay, so that really does round out today's science news. Now, there was this morning a static firing of the engines for the Falcon Heavy, which is scheduled. Technically, we're all waiting to see if there's delays to launch this Sunday. So yes, folks, we are looking at the first commercial launch of a Falcon Heavy. This isn't a test launch filled with a Tesla. This is an actual launch of the Falcon Heavy. They did the static engine fire this morning to test things out. We are waiting to hear back on the results of that static engine firing and to see if there is confirmation that the launch is go. If it is, we will work to bring it to you right here on CosmoQuest with our local rocket expert, Binary Ablaze, Annie Wilson. And speaking of Annie, if you look over here, I have, still learning to green screen, I have a goal. That goal is how much I would like to pay Annie plus benefits and taxes and all those overheads that come with actually running salary. She's working her butt off for you guys. And I'm paying her some, but I'm not paying her all the hours she is working. Help me pay Annie, please. You can do this in multiple ways. You can do a direct donation by going to streamlabs.com/CosmoQuestX. Donations are tax deductible where law allows. You can go to Patreon and become part of our, thank you, Trucker Kev. You can become part of our Patreon community where you will get special messages from me. If you give your address, you'll randomly get mailed stuff in the mail. And there's other benefits involved. Or you can follow Trucker Kev's fabulous example and just donate bits. We are a production of the Planetary Science Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to understanding our solar system. We are working in collaboration with Youngstown State University. And thank you, Veronica Cure. And we are brought to you here thanks to the generous contributions of you and you and you and you and all the rest of you. And those of you who haven't, thank you, RecShare. Thank you. Consider what we're worth to keep us going. So thank you for all that you do to support us. And I have one happy little thing that I want to share. And some of you have noticed it. We have a whole bunch of new emotes. I am particularly proud of, why don't I have access to the emotes? Now, that's just not fair. Okay, I'm apparently going to have to reload this page at some point. For our highest subscription tier, there is actually a very 1980s style astronaut helmet that has a test pattern in the visor. So this art is all provided to us by, thank you so much, DPI209, for subscribing for 10 months in a row. All of this emote art is brought to you thanks to the efforts of Austin Hinterleder. He is our team artist, and he does fabulous stuff that I periodically scale down to super tiny sizes. You can find a lot of this art on various things on our Redbubble store. Okay, I hate begging for money. It's currently what I need to do because, well, I was doing accounting right before I did this episode, and I want to pay Annie more. Help me pay Annie more. I am trying to do the Tink staring into your souls that her dog does. I just want to pay her all the hours she works. Okay, I'm done now. I will now take your questions, and while you're typing those in, let me remind you, if you miss us live on Twitch, you can catch us later on over on YouTube. And if you've got a moment, click on over to YouTube, and we actually have two different channels. We didn't do this on purpose. It turns out that YouTube kind of, because of Google Plus, we ended up with a channel tied to our Google Plus account, as well as a channel tied to our YouTube account, to our Gmail account. The ever fabulous Nancy Graziano is currently trying to figure out how to merge these two accounts. I am dropping into the chat on Twitch the link for the correct YouTube channel. If you can just Google CosmoQuest YouTube, it's the channel that actually has a whole bunch of visitors. Go subscribe to that one. Somehow our channel that only has one video that predates Google Plus It's the one that has the most subscribers, and I want to fix that. Help us fix that. Thank you, Janelle Duncan. And I need to update that graphic. She has subscribed over on YouTube. Zombie means YouTube. Thank you so much. So, subscribing on YouTube is free. Click over, subscribe on YouTube. It really will help our channel out a lot and allow us to apply for things and stuff, and would be awesome. Okay, I'm now going to see what questions you have. And first, I have a dog right here who's like, things keep making noises, Mom. Why don't you give me Cheerios? So I'm going to maintain our tradition of you pay for things and we give you a handful of cute. Come on up, Eddie. Come on. So this is Eddie. He loves your donations. And he now knows the sound. Hi. Hi. You have Cheerios stuck in your fur. Thank you for subscribing over on YouTube, Sup 101. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm now going to pop out the chat because I'm currently looking oddly in a weird direction. And once I do that, let me get rid of that as you've all been watching me muck about on my desktop. So a friendly reminder, we will on April 27th be doing a 10-hour live stream celebrating a decade of the 365 Days of Astronomy podcast. If you have ever been one of our podcasters, we want to get in touch with you and invite you to be part of the show. Over 10 years, a lot of people have moved around, switched email addresses. Help us find you. We want to include you. And all the rest of you, plan to show up. We're going to do it right here on Twitch. So, how did I already misplace my chat window? That's special. There it is. Okay. And I popped it out, which means I lost all the history in the chat. If you had a question earlier, please retype it. I'm sorry. I should have popped my chat out earlier. I forgot that chat eats history when you do it. Yes, Larry, Weird and Proud. 365 Days of Astronomy is how Morgan Renberg first got involved in science communications. We are proud to have given many different people their roots. We also were one of the places where Paul Matt Sutter's content first went out, Brian Koberline, so many different people that have been part of our community and part of the weekly space hangout across the many years. So Paranor asks, any ETA on crater pictures of Ryugyu from the DCAM 3? We are waiting. That's all I can give you. Scientists in general are going to be pretty mum about how long it's going to take to get the images because they want them to look pretty. And sometimes that's way harder than expected. You hit software problems, you find issues, but it should be in the next few days. Okay. Larry Weird and Proud asks, what is the difference between an eclipse and a transit? An eclipse is when you're standing on an object and an object orbiting you passes between you and a star. So if I'm standing on a planet and a moon passes in front of the star that the planet is going around, that is an eclipse. A transit is when a object passes in front of the star that isn't orbiting you. So when we see a distant planet pass in front of its own star, that's a transit. When we see an asteroid pass in front of the sun, when we see Mercury or Venus pass in front of the sun, those things aren't orbiting Earth, so all of those things are transits. In this case, when Mars sees its own moons pass in front of the sun, those moons are orbiting Mars, therefore these are eclipses. Now the trickiness comes in that we call eclipses on Earth where the moon doesn't totally block out the sun an annular eclipse because our moon is round and the sun is round and you end up with an annulus of light. Well, Phobos and Deimos are lumpy potatoes. And so they don't really leave an annulus, but I'm still going to go with the word annular eclipse as being the most scientifically accurate. Yes, Susie Murph volunteered for 365 days back way in the day as well. I'm not going to out your username if you don't want me to. So Refs Matt is explaining, okay. So if anyone can scan backwards who has a chat history and copy in questions from the past, I know many of the people who normally ask questions, I'm not seeing their questions. So are there any questions from Hanny or Veronica or Larry earlier on that I missed just because I don't have a history on the chat? Veronica is asking, is a partial eclipse the same as an annular eclipse? No. Okay, so this is where I'm looking for different objects. Here we go. I have a coaster. I have no idea what this is. I have a small black round object. A small black round object that is passing completely in front of my coaster star. This is an annular eclipse because there's a round lump, not round lump. There is a round donut, annulus of light around my black object. So if our moon is so close to the so far from the Earth that it appears small in the sky, we get an annular eclipse. Now, let me see if I can do this. Trying. Wow, geometry is not my friend. Okay, so when the moon is close to the Earth, it has the ability to completely block out the sun. So this is a total eclipse. Total eclipse. When the moon is further from the Earth, we have an annular eclipse. Now, sometimes it just completely misses, and this is when we get a partial eclipse. So, total, annular, partial. I hope that I did that correctly. Okay, total eclipse of this heart. Yes, or in this case, total eclipse of the coaster. It's actually a spacey coaster. This is a Telescope Technologies Limited coaster that I got at some point, and it is rigorous enough that I'm still using it. Okay, do we have any other questions? I regret to say I have no potatoes around, so I can't show you what a Mars eclipse looks like in simulation. If we have no other questions, I'm going to remind everyone that we will be recording Astronomy Cast live over on YouTube in roughly 1.5 hours at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. That is 8 p.m. London time. So Refs Matt is asking, are you going to any upcoming conventions? Sort of, depending on your definition. I am going to be in Tucson, Arizona in just a couple of weeks for the PSI annual dinner. I need to work on planning out having a free meetup for any of you who want to show up the following night. And if any of you want, you can buy a ticket to come and hear me give the dinner presentation for the PSI annual dinner, where all proceeds are going to pay for educational activities done by the Planetary Science Institute staff. In addition to that, I am going to be going to the Craft Software Developers Conference in Budapest, Hungary at the very end of the month, beginning of May. And I am going to be going to the American Humanitarian Association's annual conference. I'll be attending in Pittsburgh. And as is getting pointed out in the chat, I am this year's recipient of the 2019 Isaac Asimov Science Award from the American Humanist Society, or Association, rather. So that is an amazing honor. Beyond that, I will, of course, be attending the astrotours.co, All Stars Star Party. Use the URL astrotours.co/all-star-strider to get your tickets. We are still accepting reservations. And at the end of the summer, I will be running a tour, if enough tickets are sold, through the American Southwest. I see Larry Weird and Proud commenting that my passport must be dog-eared. So my current passport, I think I got in 2010. It has exactly enough space for me to go to one more country that requires a full page upon entry. And this is the last trip I'm going to be taking on this particular passport. So yeah, it is time for me to get a new passport. And that is going to happen after this trip. It's also time for me to get a new passport because I have visas to a bunch of different places that tend to get me questioned a lot going in and out of countries. Science is a global endeavor, which means sometimes we have a really good reason to go to China or Egypt. Well, Egypt, I went to on vacation. We have really good scientific reasons to go to China or South Africa or Indonesia or any of a myriad of different countries. So yeah. Oh, I'm sorry that you can only get a 5-year passport, String Theory. That's frustrating. But it is the way it is. Anyways, I think that's it for the day. Check out and enjoy all of our new awesome emotes. Please go subscribe. Even if you plan to never watch anything, go subscribe for free on our YouTube channel. It really does help us out. And thanks for being here. We need donations, but we're here because of you and we hate asking for money. Just hanging out is free, and that's what really does matter to us. We're here to do science with you. And yeah, thanks for being here. So I'm going to, as is our tradition, awkwardly find the button that you press to start the credits rolling. We have awkward traditions on our channel. One of these days, I'm going to bring my Stream Deck upstairs. Okay. Scrolling, all the awkward is going to happen. After we roll the credits, we will be raiding someone. If you have any suggestions on who to raid, type them in now. Otherwise, I am going to go over to the Knowledge Fellowship Discord and see who is streaming over there. Okay, scrolling. Somewhere I have the Knowledge Fellowship. List of now live, going to the bottom. So we have Jenny Skinner trying not to over-engineer a website. We have me. We have Domination Exercising now. Oh Bother is live. We're going to raid Oh Bother. Oh Bother is awesome. So please, I don't know why Noel is watching Cosmos. Give Oh Bother a fabulous welcome using all those new awesome emotes. I will be rating him right after I roll the credits. And as always, wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon. And why aren't the credits rolling? Trying this again. Roll the credits. There we go. Wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon. And if the weather allows, get outside and look up. Bye-bye.